In this video, we'll be learning how to make this camisole or underwear. Hey fashion lovers, you're welcome back to this channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on this video, and for the returning subscribers, thank you so much as well. Thank you for always coming back. Today we'll be learning how to cut and sew an inner gown. Some people call it shimmy, some people call it camisole, but whatever you call it, that is what we'll be making in this video. It is very easy and super fast. I'll be using 2 yards of raw silk to make this. Let's get started without wasting much of our time. I will start by folding the fabric into 4 because we'll be cutting both the front and the back piece together. To determine the wideness, I'll be using the largest measurement in the body, which is the hip. So I'll be using hip divided by 4 plus 4 inches. Whatever you get. For instance, if your hip is 40 inches divided by 4 is 10 inches plus 4 inches extra, that is 14 inches. So that is what we'll be using to cut this, 14 inches folded into 4. This is what I have. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's folded into 4. For the length of this gown is going to be 58 inches. But we will not be adding any seam allowance to it. Instead, we'll be minusing 1 because the inner gown is meant to be shorter than the main gown. So this is not supposed to be reaching your ankle, except if the person wants it that way. It's always short. So now I'll be minusing 1 inch from the initial length of the gown. So initial length is 58 minus 1 is 57. You will have something like 56 left by the time you hem the down part as well. I am just cutting out the rough end before I start imputing my measurement. I will start by imputing the shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement is 18 divided by 2, that will be 9. So I'll be marking 9 inches. But I am starting my measurement from the folded part of the fabric, not the part that have the rough end, from the folded part. So that folded part is going to be, by the time you open it, is going to be the center of the inner gown. So now the armhole measurement is 24 inches divided by 2 is 12. So I'm marking out 12. On that 12 where we have the armhole, I'm going to be imputing the bust measurement. The bust measurement, whatever you have, plus 2 inches ease allowance plus 1 inch seam allowance. So I'll be adding extra 3 inches to the bust measurement. After then, I am just going to mark that armhole line to the bust line. Then I'm just going to extend that bust line forward to help me create the armhole curve. On that armhole line, I'll be coming down by 1 inch, that is for shoulder slope, and divide the rest of the measurement into 2 to determine the midpoint. After I get the midpoint, I'm going to come in by ½ inch. That ½ inch, I'm just going to extend it to that 1 inch we marked earlier. I'm going to blend it very well and create my armhole curve. Now take your measuring tape and measure from the shoulder line to your waist and to hip. To waist here is 20 inches and to hip is 27 inches. But you don't really need the waist because it's going to be free. So only the hip that we need here. On that hip line, we'll be imputing the hip measurement plus extra 3 inches. 2 inches for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance, just as we did for the bust measurement. Now you're just going to connect the bust to hip, then to the rest of the inner gown, I mean the length of the garment you're working with. So you're just going to use your ruler to connect this together and then cut. Here I am showing you what it looks like after I cut it. Just look at the shape. Now we're going to determine the neck. The neck is going to be deep. So we'll be using 6 inches for both the front and the back neck. And the wideness is going to be 5 inches. So that is 5 by 6 inches. After creating the neck, I'm just going to extend that 1 inch to the neckline and create the shoulder slope and cut it out. Now I am just going to be laying both the front and the back piece together. Lay them on top of each other, pin it and take it to my sewing machine and sew it. I'll be using bias to pipe the neckline. I'll be using bias to pipe the armhole as well and close the two sides. After I'm done with that, I'll come back and show you what next. After stitching the pieces together, this is the result. I used bias to pipe the neckline as I said earlier, and it makes it really neat. I used it for the armhole as well, and I closed the two sides. I left about 7 inches on both sides unclosed. That is going to be the side slit. I'm just going to be using my overlock machine to overlock it and top stitch the down part. You can as well overlock the down part as well if you have it, but if you don't, just top stitch, fold it in and stitch in out. So you understand why the front and the back neck has to be deep, because it's not supposed to be coming out on top your dress, on your main dress. It's meant to be inside. That is why both the front and the back has to be really deep. It has to be deeper, or it has to be lower than your main garment. So that is basically why it's always like that. That is the end of today's video. If you find this really helpful, don't forget to like, share and drop your comments. Subscribe to my channel as well, and don't forget to turn on the post notification so you always get notified anytime I post a video like this. Thank you so much, and see you in the next one.